Guys, how's it going? Today we're going to be doing some work here in the West Side Gardens. We're going to be lightly trimming the boxwoods and then planting the areas underneath the maple trees. This whole area has just become so pleasant and it's really starting to mature. These are red point maples right here that have grown a huge amount. I mean, I'm just blown away. Right now in the morning, it's usually shaded anyway because, you know, the sun is blocked by the house and the giant juniper and maple tree on the other side. But in the afternoon, it's becoming much more shaded as well. The North Pole arborvitaes have grown quite a lot. They look awesome. And then, you know, with the canopy of these red points, it's just amazing. It's a little bit more sunny toward the end there because there's not quite as much protection. You can probably see that. So shade, shade. There's a break in the trees right here. So this one gets sun in the morning. This one is shaded by the locust tree right there. And as that locust leaves out more, it'll be a little bit deeper shade. And then this one, for now, until that red point maple puts on more growth, is sun. So it's one of those interesting spots where, you know, it's a very formal area with all the boxwood hedging, and I kind of want all of the areas to be planted the same so it has that cohesion and just that striking look to it. But to find annuals that can take both sun and shade and perform equally as well, it's a little bit more limited. The selection is a little bit more limited. So last year we planted the Surefire rose begonias. They did so great, in fact, that I almost went with the same thing again this year because I loved them and they don't require to be fertilized all the time. You don't have to spray them, you don't have to deadhead them. We just planted them, they're on drip irrigation, and that is it. We didn't have to mess with them all season. But I lucked out because they came out with a new color. So instead of the Surefire rose, we are going to be trying out the Surefire white. This is going to be our first time growing it, but I'm excited to have that kind of bright pop of white color in here. I did want to bring the other two out here though so you could see. So the Surefire rose, this is what we put in last year. And then this is another new one called Surefire Cherry Cordial. So this one has a little bit deeper pink, almost on the red side. Well, I guess you could call that red, right? Red blooms with a darker bronze leaf. They're all very pretty, but I think that this one, especially in the more shaded areas with that brighter green leaf, the bright white bloom, and that bright yellow center, I think these are just gonna pop. So we've got a whole bunch of them. They're kind of on the smallish side right now, but they typically put on growth quickly. So if you have a space that has sun and shade, that you need something that will just do really well, that doesn't require a lot of maintenance, this is a really good option. We've just had such tremendous luck. Of course, this is our first year with the Surefire white, so it's always a trial. Not all varieties, even if they're in the same family, will react or grow the same way, so it'll be interesting to see what these do. But I'm going to start off by trimming the boxwood so that I can, you know, get in here without worrying about stepping on the brand new plants. And I'm not doing a big shaping prune today. It's just basically to take the top off. I trimmed these fairly late in the season last year, so they're shaped up-ish. But I want to come in and take off any of like this little winter tip damage that we've got going on. I won't be able to get it all, but you know, year before last we struggled with spider mites hard on these boxwoods. So I didn't do a whole bunch of pruning last year either. In fact, these are sprinter boxwoods. If you get in close, you can still see the damage that the mites created. I mean, it's just insane. There were sections of them that were just pure white. Like the leaves had just turned white. They had been sucked, the sap was sucked out of those leaves so badly by the mites. It was just a really tough year for them. So we've kind of been limping them a little bit, and they are at the point now where you can still kind of see individual boxwoods. I can't remember how many years they've been in the ground now, maybe 4-ish. But they are getting to a point where they're starting to intermingle with each other and create an actual hedge. So I don't really want to cut a whole lot off. So this process should go pretty quickly. I'm going to trim, we're going to plant, and then we're just going to mulch on top of all the trimmings, I think, because we won't have that many. See how you can still see individual plants, but we're just almost there. Almost there to a hedge. We get to enjoy the tulips and the sound of the birds. What a beautiful morning. So guys, let's just get after it, get this done. guys, I got the boxwoods cleaned up a little bit. The begonias are in. It's shaping up over here. So that one's kind of in weird light at the moment. This one is in the most shade, so I think we'll be able to see the plants a little bit better. But you can see, like, we can't form up a solid hedge yet because there's still indents where the individual plants are. And then of course the damage, the spider mite damage. I'm just so worried that if I trim down further in to where maybe it's a little thicker, that's where all the damage is, and I really just don't want that to show. So anyway, we're getting there. Are you gonna go collect some eggs? You can go collect eggs. Yeah. And then there are the begonias, a little bit of a faith in planting sort of project. These are really small at the moment, but I think they're gonna be so, so pretty. We started in every one of these areas. They're a slightly different shape or size. Like the first two were a little bit bigger, so the plants are spaced a little bit more. But I've got 7 in the front row, forming kind of our nice solid line. And then I just kind of dotted them around back behind to where I felt like it was full enough. So well, it's kind of dappled right here. Let's look at the next one. I don't know which one's easiest to see. Maybe not that one. They're all kind of in the same light at the moment. Even this one, now that the sun's getting a little bit more further overhead, this maple is shading that area. Either way, they're supposed to get between 1 foot and 2 feet tall, and then the spacing is between 12 and 18 inches. So there's some areas where the spacing is even a little bit further, but I think they're gonna make a really beautiful statement. And the Surefire rose begonias definitely, like, they have the same growing stats. They definitely reached their full potential size. They really liked this area. That's why I'm really hopeful for this particular variety. And again, because we have so much more shade over here, I think the white is really gonna shine. We did go through all the past years, and maybe we can toss some footage up, because it's kind of fun to see the evolution of this space too, with the plants, the maples, and the boxwoods. The first year we planted it, so this is the 5th year we've planted. The first year we used Supertunia snowdrift, Vista snowdrift, and we planted 6 in each one of the areas, and it filled in beautifully, but that was when we had the most amount of sun because everything was smaller around it. The next year we did the Diamond Mountain Euphorbia, which another white option. We didn't care for that one as much. The plant itself grew beautifully, and it's a beautiful plant in and of itself, but in a situation like this, when we didn't have a solid boxwood hedge to back them, we felt like it was a little bit too wispy, like it didn't have enough boldness, if that makes sense. And then what did we do? Supertunia Mulberry Charm. And the year before, we planted that one up in some containers and in the ground, and it was absolutely spectacular. It was rivaling my love for the Supertunia Bordeaux. It just performed its head off. But then we tried it under the maple trees, and it was the first year we realized we've got to plant something that can handle more shade, because we had areas where it was very productive, like toward the end where it got more sun, and then there were areas where it just was kind of puny and all that business. So anyway, we decided the next year, which was last year, to do the Surefire Rose Begonias, and boy, we were happy with that decision. So year number 5, Surefire White. We will be able to report back on how it does later on in the season. But again, love that we don't have to worry about fertilizing it all that much. I mean, we might go through every couple of weeks, give it a little liquid fertilizer, but they don't need it every single week like everything else. And then there's usually no insect pressure on these that we've had here. Yeah, they're just a really great plant. All right, guys, now that this section is done, minus the mulch, I think I'm gonna go grab a couple of flats of annuals to plant out in the cut flower garden. I'm trying to just chip away at that project. I'm gonna get there. We're getting some space filled up out there. These right here, I've been hardening these off. These are annual Campanulas, 4 different colors, and then Statice. So I think we'll tackle these 4 flats. They're all 72 cell. I don't think, it depends on what kind of space we can find out there, but we may have some giveaways after this is done. Okay, here we are out at the annual section in our cut flower garden. I just kind of wanted to run over really quick what I've got out here so far. You know, the first row is completely filled with ranunculus. Again, we haven't mulched. I say that about every video. We haven't mulched out here yet, so we'll be bringing in Land and Sea to mulch all of our planting rows. And then we've got fresh mulch to put down in the walking pathways. But we've got ranunculus all the way to the end. We've got anemones here in the first half. In the back half, I planted Rudbeckias. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 varieties of Rudbeckias in there. Next row is stock, which we have 7 different varieties, and those come to about here. So again, just about half a row, maybe just shy of half row. So I think the rest of this row we'll be planting our Statice. In this row, we have perennial lilies, which I'm going to, I mean, you can see part of them haven't come back very nicely. or they're just really slow. I see some growth points here on some of them, but the plan is to let these bloom this year, and then I'm going to move them out. My goal is to have this section be purely annuals, and then the other section where I've got strawberries and some other things going already, that will be our perennial section. Then we have the rose section and the dahlia section. So once those bloom, we'll have this whole row right here, which we can do a later crop of zinnias or cosmos. The first part here, we've got feverfew, which is a plant that sometimes will come back, it'll seed itself, but it's not reliable. So I put him here in the annual section. And then this whole row is snapdragons. I think we've got 10 different varieties in this row. So yeah, from start to finish, snapdragons. This row right here has some larkspur that seeded itself, and I've let it go just because I thought, well, if it, gets up there and does something, I'll leave it. But the rest of the row is open. The rest of this row is open, minus the larkspur again that has seeded itself. So we can clean those out should we need to, but I'm thinking we'll put the campanulas in this row here. This row is mainly open all the way up to lisianthus and honeywort at the end. And then this row right here has bells of Ireland, which I think I'm going to keep a small patch, but they just go for it. Like, they go everywhere. So I'm going to try to make that little section a little bit smaller. I also find that I don't use them very much in cutting. Occasionally, but not very much. We've got some perennial pincushion flowers, which I'll probably just leave here because I will always have annual pincushion flowers to grow as well. So I'm just going to put those in with these. And then we've got whitefinch orlea coming up in this section, which I will seed some more, and then more larkspurs. Yeah, you can see the lisianthus here and then the honeywort there. So still plenty of space, but we are getting it filled up out here. In fact, when I was done pulling the Statice and the Campanulas that we're going to plant today, I moved out all of the pincushion flowers, which I've got 272 count cell trays of those, and I moved out the gomphrena, and I moved out the gomphrena and the Crispidia. I've also got Joey's lamb's tail, and there was one other thing in that flat. Chocolate flowers. So I'll let those sit outside the greenhouse. It's just I can monitor them a little bit better there. Let them get used to the sunshine. If some kind of weird weather comes through, I can cover them quick. But I think we're pretty much okay at this point to plant anything, even from inside the greenhouse outside. It's warming up. So our Statice, let me run through the varieties. We've got Forever Silver, Purple, Pastel Blue. They totally look like weeds when they're in this stage. There's Yellow and Apricot Beauty. It's an amazing flower to plant in a cut flower garden. I mean, they just bloom and bloom and bloom. You can hack the whole plant back and it comes back that season and blooms more. And even when the plant is done for the season and you leave it, like last year we left big sections of it out here, and since the flowers dry the same color that they bloom pretty much, we had it look like blooming flowers out here in the middle of winter, which was awesome. They do need 12-inch spacing, so I know I will have leftovers of these. I'm just going to try to do my math and see how many of each variety we can fit based on how many holes I can dig out there in the row I'm going to put them in. And then for our Campanulas, we have the Champion Blue, Champion Pink, Champion Lavender, and Champion White. These look like they're getting ready to do something. This is my first time growing these, so I don't know what to expect. It did say if you want just a single stem cutting per plant, you can space them 4 to 6 inches apart. If you want multiple stems to cut per plant, you space them out 10 to 12 inches. Our emitter holes are about every 6 inches rather. So I don't know, I'll just start digging holes and see what happens. Statice in this row. I had to leave my extras right next to the tag because I need to go make extra tags so that I don't get my varieties mixed up. But anyway, half a row of Statice, I think that will be perfect. And then Campanulas, I planted all the way down to where we've got the larkspur. I figured that's quite a lot of row right here of Campanula, and given that this is the first time I've had it in the cut garden, I don't really know if I want to do a full row. Same thing, left my flats there. I gotta go make some tags. It's just crazy to me how small things are when we put them out here and how huge they become. And then different varieties in the same family, like the pink Campanula here, it's very much so more a robust plant. It's thicker, it's more compact, versus like the lavender down here. Long, gangly things, and they were all in the same flats, same light, all of that business. This one had the most buds on it. And, you know, some of them are flopped over because I just watered them, but they'll stand back up and should be just fine. And it's really nice with the auger. So this is a 2-inch that's 36 inches tall. So I don't have to bend over at all. I just zip all my holes all in a row, all standing up. And then usually I go through and just pull the plants out and toss them into the holes. And then I'll finally get down on my hands and knees and get them planted. So it really doesn't take that long, and it's not a tremendous amount of effort. And you guys, that is going to do it for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you're having a great day, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye. All right, guys, this is a quick PS. I just wanted to show you what this begonia area looks like, because right after I got done planting them, Paul came through. It's like he knew, he sensed that I was done with this area, and he came through and mulched the whole thing, and it looks so dang good. I just wanted to show you because I feel like the begonias are a little bit more contrasted now, and they look so pretty. Look at this. Again, it's dappled light, but oh, it looks so much better having a uniform layer of compost. That's what we use as mulch. And oh, let's see if we can find a more shaded one. Look at this. It's so pretty. And you guys, these Surefire begonias, they are self-cleaning. You don't have to deadhead them. And they don't get that, is it botrytis? Is that how you say it? They don't get that thing where the blooms start to get like brown and real ratty looking. They're supposedly resistant to that. And I've never experienced that with the Surefire rose. So I'm very hopeful that the whites do the same thing. They're tiny, but they will fill in. Nice job, Paul. All right, guys, see ya.